BiomedRx Optimum Woman is the only woman's high-potency full-spectrum multiple vitamin supplement to contain 56 nutrients, including those most important for today's woman, such as calcium for bone health, iron for healthy red blood cells, beta-carotene, biotin for nail and hair health, gamma-linoleic acid from evening primrose oil, octasanol, grapeseed extract, a potent antioxidant important for maintaining capillary strength, and vegetarian digestive enzymes. Visit www.biomedrxsupplements.com.
Gold label quality BiomedRx CBD oil is made from organic hemp that is locally grown, glyphosate-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, homogenized, third-party tested, and CO2 extracted. Visit www.biomedrxcbd.com.
Hi, this is Devin Lockett, the president of JobSite Route. As the son of a general contractor, I know how difficult it can be to get good food on the job site. And letting your construction workers leave the job site to buy lunch just takes valuable time away from them being on the site. I've developed an app and a program that will bring a steady stream of food trucks to your job sites every month for the low price of only $100 per month per site. That comes up to about $3 per day to have a steady stream of food trucks coming to your job sites all day, every working day. You can also contact the food trucks ahead of time and pre-order your food from the menu on our app. This saves valuable time for your construction workers and for you. It also sends a variety of delicious food served on Southern California food trucks to your job sites all day. When you think about it, it only makes sense to join the JobSite Route Network.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining me this afternoon. We're just going to go over a few news items, and I'm going to react to some of this craziness that's going on in the world. All right. So, I mean, that's really all I can say right now. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. This is Devin Lockett, and this is the Devin Lockett Reactions channel, where you see me do my reactions to a lot of the craziness and insanity that's going on in our world, and a lot of the things that they find newsworthy. So, first thing on my plate is Brittany Griner. So let's go to my other frame here, and let's see if we can get into this. I got a few bookmark things here I want to go over. Just wanted to share this with you. Brittany Griner's 9-year prison sentence compounds the injustice against her, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says. Well, let's see what's going on with Secretary of State Anthony Blinken.
But what essentially...
It's shocking news to a lot of people, and it sounds like a lot, but in Brittany Griner's world, this is what was expected. It's what U.S. officials always expected. It's daunting, to be sure, but in a lot of ways, it's the closing of the first chapter, and it moves her essentially closer to coming home. Russia has made it clear all along that if there is a deal to be done, which would probably be a prisoner swap between her and someone the United States is holding, it wouldn't happen until after her trial. So in a lot of ways, the sentence is considered a formality. Again, it looks pretty bad, but in a lot of ways, it also allows the negotiations to accelerate, possibly even bring her closer to coming home.
Now, you mentioned the prison swap, but what essentially happens next after this finding and this sentencing?
Well, inside the courtroom, both sides can appeal. There's no reason for the prosecution to appeal. That's something you can do under Russian law because they basically got the sentence they asked for. Technically, you would expect Brittany Griner to appeal. But U.S. officials made it clear that they're willing to make a deal. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said on I think it was the 26th, that the U.S. had made an offer to Russia. We understand that it's trading Brittany Griner and another American, Paul Whelan, who's been there since 2018, for a man named Victor Bout, who is a convicted Russian arms dealer who's doing a 25-year sentence in the U.S. So what this does is allows Russia to move forward, save face, and say, hey, we followed our legal system. We prosecuted her under our law. The U.S. might not consider it to be legitimate, but now Russia's in a position where it can say, okay, let's make a deal.
So what ultimately has to happen for Brittany Griner to be allowed to come home safely to the United States?
Well, they've got to reaching a deal is not an easy thing between these two countries. Obviously, she was arrested before the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There's a long history in Russia of sometimes, again, understanding from people who've dealt in this world, you can reach a deal with somebody and all of a sudden at the last minute it falls apart. It's not as simple as Joe Biden talking to Vladimir Putin. The Justice Department has to weigh in. Ultimately, it's for the White House to sign off on. But you have the same problem on the other side. There are different people in the Kremlin, in the foreign ministry, who want to see different things from this. Someone over there has to make the decision. It's shocking news.
Well, there you go. Make what you want of it. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the 9-year sentence given to WNBA star Brittany Griner compounds in the injustice she has gone through in Russia since her arrest earlier this year. It puts a spotlight on our very significant turn with Russia's legal system and the Russian government's use of wrongful detentions to advance its own agenda. U.S. individuals as political using individuals as political pawns, Blinken said Friday at a meeting with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Cambodia. Griner was convicted Thursday, sentenced to 9 years in prison, and fined 1 million rubles, about $16,700. She had been arrested on February 17th at a Moscow airport after vape cartridges containing cannabis oil were found in her luggage. The verdict and sentencing were expected steps toward a swap Griner back to the United States, as Russia was not going to move forward with a trade until her trial was completed. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov appeared to confirm that Friday when he said Russia was ready to discuss a prisoner swap in private. Lavrov said President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Joe Biden had previously agreed on a diplomatic channel that should be used to negotiate a possible exchange. We are ready to discuss this topic, but within the framework of the channel that was agreed upon by Presidents Putin and Biden, Lavrov said in Cambodia. If the Americans decide to once again to resort to public diplomacy, that is their business, and I would even say it is their problem. Wow. Blinken has suggested the possibility of a prisoner swap for Griner and another American jailed in Russia, Paul Whelan. Sources have told ESPN's TJ Quinn that a deal would also invoke convicted Russian arms dealer Victor Bout, who is serving a 25-year prison term in the United States. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said Thursday after Griner's sentencing that the United States had made Russia a serious proposal without providing further detail. We urge them to accept it, Kirby said. They should have accepted it weeks ago when we first made it. Russia and the United States staged a prisoner swap in April, trading former Marine Trevor Reed for Russian pilot Konstantin Yaroshenko, who was serving a 20-year sentence in the United States. American officials had sought that exchange after Reed was reported to be in poor health, and it was viewed as a sign by Griner's supporters of an open diplomatic channel between the two countries. In Moscow, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov declined to comment on the court ruling on Griner. Asked whether she should be pardoned, he said that the clemency procedure was coded in Russian laws. Peskov also made the same point as Lavrov about the public diplomacy, more harshly saying that the U.S. has made mistakes trying to solve such problems via microphone diplomacy. They are not solved that way. Griner's defense lawyers have said they would appeal. The defense team had said that in the sentencing, the court had ignored all evidence it had presented and Griner's guilty plea. Biden called Griner's sentence unacceptable Thursday and called on Russia to release her immediately so that she can be with her wife, loved ones, friends, and teammates. Okay. We're going with that too, huh? Okay. Asked Friday at the White House about the prospects of securing Griner's release, Biden said, "I'm hopeful. We're working hard." The Associated Press and Reuters contributed to this report. Okay, so, if I had to make any editorial comments about this, where's the alphabet community? Where's the letter community on Griner? Where's the support? Where's the support from the alphabet community on this? I mean, I really have to ask. I'm really being forced to ask. Because this should be like a really public, I guess, public issue or something. I don't know. So let's go here. CNN. Lavrov says Russia is ready to discuss prisoner swap with U.S. after Griner conviction. Well, Lavrov is the Russian foreign minister. CNN: the U.S. and Russia have indicated that they are ready to hold talks over a prisoner swap. a day after basketball star Brittany Griner was convicted of drug smuggling and sentenced to 9 years in prison. I think that's a pretty damn excessive sentence. I mean, for carrying less than a gram of cannabis oil through the Moscow airport. Now, I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I'm not a hypocrite, so I'm not going to represent myself as a hypocrite. I have my own brand of CBD oil, BiomedRx CBD. And I can totally understand the plausibility of maybe leaving a bottle or a cartridge maybe that contains some THC in your bag. I could totally understand if maybe she's gotten away with it before because she was a star there and she had made several trips back and forth, so maybe it wasn't so careless. Maybe the first time it was careless, but maybe that first time was several times back, and she had kind of gotten into the habit of it. I don't know. Maybe because it's a liquid, you figured the dogs won't smell it as much as they would smell, flower or leaf marijuana. I don't know. I mean, it was a bad mistake to make. And, one of my issues is, does this make one more patriotic when you recognize that we have freedoms that we take for granted that the whole world has just because we have it? And then we think that, because things are legal and okay for us, that we can just do it anywhere, or that if we get caught doing it somewhere else, that the host country is going to understand and be more lenient upon us because we're Americans. That's erroneous thought, people. That's a stupid way to think. And, we got to pay attention that we live in politically trying times right now. And we live in times where everybody has something to prove. And although Brittany committed this error before Russia's attack on Ukraine and all of this noise that's happening right now on the political front, she has become a pawn in the political game. And we can't describe this any other way. She's a pawn in the game. Nobody should get 9 years. I mean, I don't even know if the amount of THC that she was found with equals to what would be in a joint. I mean, this is really tragic. At the same time, I have traveled to over 50 countries, and I've worked in over 30 of them. And I will tell you that you don't violate their laws. You don't come, you don't come through the airport, no matter what country you're coming to or going from. You don't come through the airport with drugs, with anything that might be construed as drugs anywhere else in the world. And that's a very solid lesson. And I'm pretty sure a professional athlete would not be addicted. I would hope. But you never know. Stranger things have happened, and we have come across professional athletes that have struggled with drug addiction. So maybe, if there's a problem with addiction, then it may be, she may have felt it necessary to travel with the weed and with the THC. And I don't know, but it's a terrible situation right now. And we can cry about it being political pawnsmanship, but it is what it is, and it's not really much that we can do it. And reading every word of these articles is not going to change her situation. Look at the sister. That sister's under stress, man. That sister is under stress. I don't think she's going to die there. I mean, unless she has severe health problems that we don't know. I don't know. The comments from each side suggest the negotiation process, which has already proven complex, could accelerate in the coming days. Russia's government officials requested last month a former colonel from the country's domestic spy agency who was convicted of murder in Germany last year be included in the U.S. proposed swap of notorious arms dealer. Wow. Now you want to get another country. You want the U.S. to get another country to let a guy off the hook for murder. That was a bad faith request because you know that can't be done. Whelan, a U.S. citizen, has been held by Russia since 2018 and was convicted by a Russian court in 2020 on espionage charges that he has strenuously denied. Griner's conviction has raised similar concerns that she is being used as a political pawn in Russia's war against Ukraine. The U.S. State Department classifies the pair as wrongfully detained. Well, Griner, a Women's National Basketball Association star, pleaded guilty to carrying cannabis oil in her luggage as she traveled through a Moscow airport on February 17th. She testified in court that she was aware of Russia's strict drug laws and that had no intention of bringing cannabis into the country. She says she was in a rush and stress packing. Wow. Okay. Prior to the verdict on Thursday, Griner apologized to the court and asked for leniency in an emotional speech. I never meant to hurt anybody. I never meant to put in jeopardy the Russian population. I never meant to break any laws here. I made an honest mistake, and I hope that in your ruling that it doesn't end my life here. I know that everybody keeps talking about political pawn and politics, but I hope that is far from this courtroom. She continued. Griner's lawyers had hoped that her guilty plea and statements of remorse would result in a more lenient sentence. Her conviction, Blinken told reporters, puts a spotlight on Washington's very significant concern with Russia's legal system. Oh, now you're going to start talking about criticizing their legal system? Oh, God. The ethnocentricity of Americans is just incredible. Serious response from Russia. So, I mean, I'm not going to drag you through that. You know what I mean? It was some stuff, right? It was some cannabis oil that had THC in it. By the way, none of BiomedRx products contain THC. That's just something that you should know. Now let's rewind this and play it for you guys.
In Breckenridge.
All right, so we're going to be, as you can see, this is a very terrible thing. Very terrible thing. One of my issues is, does this make one more patriotic? Yeah, so, I mean, here we are, and I want to see when trying to see when my mic went out. That hurt. Coolness. Well, I mean, that's really all I wanted to go over. Like I said, it's a terrible thing, you know, to see this happen to this sister. I really don't want to see that. I think 9 years is a very excessive sentence, and you know, like I said, we can observe this. This trending news topic only so far. Now, here are some things from the Associated Press I'd like to discuss as well. Forgive me for that technical difficulty with the sounds here. I only took the other links out. Governor Ron DeSantis suspends elected prosecutor over a new abortion law. Okay. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Tallahassee, by the Associated Press, suspended the elected state prosecutor of Tampa on Thursday after pledging not to enforce the state's new 15-week abortion ban and for supporting gender transformation treatments for minors. You know, it is getting to the point where the country is so philosophically and politically balkanized that we can't even coexist. It's like we can't even coexist in the same world. We're not even speaking the same language anymore. The Republican governor announced the suspension of Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren at a news conference in the county's sheriff's office. When you flagrantly violate your oath to office, when you make yourself above the law, you have violated your duty. You have neglected your duty, and you are displaying a lack of competence to be able to perform those duties, DeSantis said to Cheers. The suspension comes as DeSantis runs for re-election in Florida and builds his national profile as a potential 2024 Republican presidential candidate through near constant criticism of liberal politics on abortion, policing, and other culture war issues. Warren, a Democrat, was elected as state attorney by Hillsborough County voters in 2016 and in 2020. In a statement, Warren said, "The people have the right to elect their own leaders, not have them dictated by an aspiring presidential candidate who has shown time and again he feels accountable to no one." But don't you feel accountable to the law? I mean, if the law is the law, you have to uphold it. The governor is trying to overthrow the results of a fair and free election. Two of them, actually, he said Thursday at a news conference. People need to understand this isn't the governor trying to suspend one elected official. This is the governor trying to overthrow democracy here in Hillsborough County. Oh, yeah, okay. Warren added that no cases regarding violations of the state's new abortion law have been brought to his office. Wow. In an executive order formally suspending Warren, DeSantis focused heavily on Warren's signing of statements where the prosecutors from across the country said they won't use their offices to pursue criminal cases against seekers or providers of abortion or gender transition treatments. More than 90 district attorneys, state attorneys generals, and other elected prosecutors across the U.S. have signed the letter saying that they don't intend to prosecute people for seeking, providing, or supporting abortions. Some are in states with few to no restrictions on abortions, but others are in law enforcement in places where there are bans or deep restrictions, including the counties that include Birmingham, Alabama, and Jackson, Mississippi, along with several of Texas' biggest cities. In some cases, there might not be much to enforce because many clinics have either stopped offering abortions or have closed entirely. Besides the statements from prosecutors, the city councils in places like Nashville, New Orleans, and Boise, Idaho have introduced or adopted measures telling law enforcement agencies to make abortion-related cases low priorities. Florida's new abortion restriction became effective July 1st. It prohibits abortions after 15 weeks, with exceptions if the procedure is necessary to save the pregnant woman's life, prevent serious injury, or if the fetus has a fatal abnormality. It does not allow exemptions in cases where pregnancies were caused by rape, incest, or human trafficking. Violations could face up to 5 years in prison. Physicians and other media professionals could lose their licenses and face administrative fines of $10,000 for each violation. So that's what's happening. They're not going to perform the abortions. Florida has not enacted laws criminalizing gender transition treatments for minors, but these statements prove that Warren thinks he has the authority to defy the Florida legislature and nullify in his jurisdiction criminal laws with which he disagrees. The executive order reads. Makes sense. The executive order also accuses Warren of having a, quote, flawed and lawless understanding of his duties as a state attorney and his presumptive non-enforcement of certain criminal violations, including trespassing at a business location, disorderly conduct, disorderly intoxication, and prostitution. Wow. The government's suspension of State Attorney Warren is not political to me. It's about law and order. It's about ensuring our loved ones are safe. It's about the victims and their voices, said Hillsborough County Sheriff and Chad Cronister. He said Warren has been acting like a kind of supreme authority by reducing charges, dropping cases, and single-handedly determining what crimes will be legal or illegal in our county. You know, I'm not even going to read any further than this because I'm not really into these rogue people who refuse to enforce the law. You know, we have a lot of these district attorneys out here in California as well. They go out of their way to selectively not enforce laws that they don't feel maybe should exist. I don't know. 4 takeaways from AP's Mormon Church sex abuse investigation. What is it with these Mormons, man? What is it with these Mormons? I really don't get it. It seems every time you have some kind of interaction with a Mormon, there's some weird sexual stuff involving children going on. It's just, I really don't know. It's just, unfortunately, my life has been touched by this evil sickness as well, a little bit too closely, but when Arizona bishop in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, widely known as the Mormon Church, learned that a member of his ward was sexually assaulting his 5-year-old daughter, he followed church policy and called the Mormon Abuse Helpline. They actually have a helpline. It happens that frequently. The bishop later told law enforcement that the church attorneys in Salt Lake City who staffed the helpline around the clock said that because he learned of the abuse during a counseling session the church considers a spiritual confession, he was legally bound to keep the abuse secret. Paul Douglas Adams, a U.S. Border Patrol employee living with his wife and 6 children in Bisbee, Arizona, continued abusing his daughter for as many as 7 more years and went on to abuse a second daughter. He finally stopped in 2017 with no help from the church, only because he was arrested. Wow. He was a Border Patrol employee. Jesus. The Associated Press obtained thousands of pages of sealed court documents that show in detail exactly how the church's helpline can divert abuse complaints away from law enforcement, leaving children in danger. Takeaways from the AP investigation. The clergy penitent privilege. The 7 years of secrecy in the Adams case began with the church attorneys in Salt Lake City when the church attorneys in Salt Lake City advised Bishop John Herod and later Bishop Robert Kim Mosey they were exempt from reporting requirements under the state's child abuse reporting law because of the law's so-called clergy penitent privilege. You absolutely can do nothing, Herod said, as he was told during an interview with federal investigators. Arizona's sex abuse reporting law and similar laws in more than 20 states says clergy, physicians, nurses, or anyone caring for a child who reasonably believes the child has been abused or neglected has a legal obligation to report the information to police or the State Department of Child Safety. But it also says that clergy who receive information about child neglect or sexual abuse during spiritual confessions may withhold that information from authorities if the clergy determine it is reasonable and necessary, quote unquote, under church doctrine. An Arizona attorney who is defending the bishops and the church in the lawsuit filed by 3 of the Adams children told the AP that Herod and Mosey, and by extension the church, were acting within the law and in accordance with their quote-unquote religious principles. These bishops did nothing wrong. They didn't violate the law, and therefore they can't be held liable, says William Maladon. He also called the Adams children's lawsuit a money grab. Wow. The Associated Press, okay, read the full AP investigation. No, I'm not. 7 years of sex abuse, how more Mormon officials let it happen. That does not surprise me. And I've heard some pretty intensive things about them. The Associated Press obtained nearly 12,000 pages of sealed records from an unrelated sex abuse lawsuit against the Mormon Church in West Virginia, which show that the helpline is just part of a system that can easily be misused by church leaders to divert abuse accusations against church members away from law enforcement and instead to church attorneys who may bury the problem, leaving the victims in harm's way. It was established in 1995 when legal claims of sex abuse against churches were on the rise. Officials of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints said in sworn statements included in the sealed records that the helpline is staffed by social workers who destroy records of all calls at the close of each day. When the social workers receive calls about abuse that may present a risk to the church, such as abuse committed by prominent church members, abuse perpetrated during church activities, or especially egregious instances of abuse, the calls are referred to attorneys with Salt Lake City law firm Curtin McConkie. The church maintains that all calls referred to the attorneys are protected by attorney-client privilege, leaving no record of the accusations accessible to prosecutors or victims' attorneys. The lawsuit filed by the Adams children alleges the Mormon Church implements the helpline not for the protection and spiritual counseling of sexual abuse victims, but for church attorneys to snuff out complaints and protect the Mormon Church from potentially costly lawsuits. The survivors, Miranda and Matthew Whitworth, adopted the Adams' younger daughter when she was just 2 years old. Miranda said when they met, the toddler wrapped her arms and legs around her head, buried her face in her neck, and refused to look up as to say goodbye to her mother's family. It was the craziest thing. And it was like when you see a baby monkey or baby gorilla cling to their mother and they just won't let go. Oh my God, that says a lot. The fact that they would even say that. The couple said they joined the lawsuit to push the church to change its policy so that instances of child sexual abuse immediately reported to civil authorities. You know, died by suicide before he could stand trial on federal child pornography charges in the state. So that's the upshot, huh? Okay. This is just so disgusting, man. And the fact that in this day and age that we still have such an organization that's just blatantly doing this in the world. Warner Brothers axes Batgirl, and they won't release the $90 million HBO Max film. Why? In a highly unusual move that rattled Hollywood, Warner Brothers axed the Batgirl film planned for HBO Max, opting to shelve the $90 million film as the reorganized studio revamps its approach to streaming and DC Comics films. Really? The studio ultimately decided the nearly completed Batgirl didn't merit either streaming debut or a theatrical release. Warner Brothers instead is choosing to entirely write off the film starring In the Heights star Leslie Grace as Batgirl and co-starring Michael Keaton returning as Batman. Oh, little tiny Michael Keaton. J.K. Simmons. I acted in First Daughter with Michael Keaton, actually. I was an extra in that film. Yeah, he's a pretty miniature kind of guy, size guy. It was directed by Adil E. Arbi and Bilal Fallah. Production wrapped in April. Warner Brothers' decision, one without any obviously parallel in recent history, sent shockwaves through the industry when a movie doesn't meet the studio's expectations or is typically sold off or dumped quietly with little fanfare. Batgirl, greenlit before Warner Media's merger with Discovery, will instead simply not see the light of day. Damn. The decision not to release Batgirl reflects on our leadership's strategic shift as it relates to the DC universe and HBO Max, a Warner Brothers spokesman said. You see, they're not telling us the whole story. Says Grace that is an incredibly talented actor, and this decision is not a reflection of her performance. No, it's probably the reflection of some woke BS that they put into the movie, and now they're realizing that America ain't buying it, and that if you go woke, you go broke, and you're going to release something that's going to kill the reputation of your entire studio. The filmmakers learned of the studio's decision shortly before the story broke late Tuesday. An early cut of Batgirl had recently undergone one test screening, and while its scores weren't good, poor test results haven't been infrequent for Warner Brothers. DC releases. You know, I used to like going to those test screenings. I'm going to see if I can get a friend of mine that's in film school to get me some more test screening tickets. DC releases, nor has post-production drama. Zack Snyder's Justice League was recut and reshot by Joss Whedon before a fan campaign led to the eventual HBO Max release of an edit by Snyder. The badly received 2016 Suicide Squad was followed by James Gunn's similarly titled 2021 relaunch, The Suicide Squad. We are saddened and shocked by the news. We still can't believe it. El Arabi and Fallah said in a statement Wednesday, as directors, it is critical that our work be shown to audiences, and while the film was far from finished, we wish that fans all over the world would have had the opportunity to see and embrace the final film themselves. Maybe one day they will, inshallah, if God wills, or ojalá. The directors signed their statement, posted on Instagram, Batgirl for Life. Late Wednesday, Grace posted on Instagram that she was proud of the work that went into Batgirl. Oh, man. I feel blessed to have worked along absolute greats. See, what we need to release some studio screening copies, bootleg into the world, because I want to see that work. I want to see the work that was done. Under new Warner Brothers Discovery, Chief Executive David Zaslav and Warner Brothers is shifting its strategy upon releases and trimming costs. Under previous Chief Executive Jason Kilar and party as a pandemic response, and the studio implemented day-to-date releases in 2021, opening films simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max. Other films like Batgirl were produced solely for HBO Max. This year, the Warner Brothers has returned to the exclusive theatrical windows for at least 45 days before sending movies to HBO Max. While Batgirl isn't as pricey as many superhero films, which typically cost 150 to 200 million to make. It is a bigger budget movie for HBO Max, for an HBO Max title. Zaslav have maintained larger budgeted movies are best served by a theatrical rollout, but marketing a movie like Batgirl for that kind of release would require tens of millions more. Warner Brothers Discovery is set to report second quarter earnings Thursday. Yeah, well, I'm not even going to continue this. They decided to just yank the whole movie. I think this is really a coming of age of a time of awakening to the absolute bullshit that is woke culture and cancel culture. And the woke culture is getting canceled by the people, as it should, and it's about time. U.S. proposes to increase refund protections for air travelers. Okay, now, if your flight is canceled, he's going to be protected. That's good. That's good. UN chief criticizes grotesque greed of oil companies. Well, I mean, that's what it is. That's what's going on. They're gouging because they can. It's the refining of the oil, and they're gouging because they actually can. Okay. Primary vote could mean no black Detroit member in Congress. Okay. All right. State Representative Shri Thandedar won Michigan's 13th congressional Democratic primary, topping a field of 9 candidates in a district that covers most Detroit and potentially leaving predominantly black city next term without black representation in Congress for the first time since the early 1950s. Well, that's because black representation in Congress has done so well for Detroit, hasn't it? Results from Tuesday's election show Thandedar, an immigrant from India, defeating state rep Adam Hollier and attorney Portia Roberson. Martell Bibbings, who is black, ran unstopped in Tuesday's Republican primary for the 13th district, but is a long shot to win the general election in the heavily Democratic district. Detroit has not been without a black representative in Congress since before the Charles Diggs Jr. took office in 1995. Diggs was joined in Congress in 1965 by Democrat John Conyers, who retained his congressional seat for more than 50 years. Detroit is about 80% black, and all of the other candidates in the primary were black. This race was not about me, Thandedar said in a statement Wednesday. Michigan's 13th congressional district is one of the poorest in the country, and I will fight for economic and radical. What? So is Thandedar a Democrat, or what is his party? Yeah, they don't say whether he's a Democrat or a Republican. Okay. Well, I really don't know why. I mean, talk about identity politics. I mean, if we've had consistent black representation since the 1950s, and look at the condition that Detroit is in right now, and the people voted for Thandedar, then why not whatever. All right, Spain is the latest nation with reports of nightclub needle jabs. Now, what's going on here? Okay, los maricones están inyectando las mujeres en España con el monkeypox para que la gente no piensa que es una enfermedad de los homosexuales. Pero yo qué sé. Madrid, police in Spain are investigating about 50 reported cases of women getting pricked with medical needles while at nightclubs or parties, a trend that previously came to the attention of authorities in other European countries. So far, Spanish police have not confirmed any cases of sexual assault or robbery related to the mysterious jabs. Police said that 23 of the recently reported needle attacks were in northeast Spain's Catalonia region, which borders France. So we're talking about where Valencia is. Waves of needle pricks at musical events also have confounded authorities in France, Britain, Belgium, and the Netherlands. French police have tallied over 400 reports in recent months and said the motive of the jabs was unclear. In many cases, it also wasn't clear if the victims were injected with a substance. Spanish police so far have found evidence of drugs in one victim, a 13-year-old girl in northern city of Gijón, who had the party drug ecstasy in her system. Local media reported that the girl was quickly taken to the hospital by her parents, who were near her when she felt a prick with something sharp. In an interview with National Public Broadcaster TVE, Television España, that aired on Wednesday, Spanish Justice Minister Pilar Llop urged everyone who thinks they received a shot without their consent to go to the police. Man, this is terrible. It's getting so crazy out here in the world. So, yeah, don't be surprised if people are trying to spread monkeypox or whatever. Los Angeles okays a sweeping ban on homeless camps near the schools. This is a blessing, man. This is a blessing. Protect our children. The homelessness problem is worse, getting worse and worse every time you see LA. If you want to stop homelessness, I suggest you look up Georgism. Georgism. Not capitalism, not communism, not socialism, not Marxism. Georgism. Okay? We've already gone over the Griner news. I think that'll be about it for this episode as far as news is concerned. I want to thank you guys. Yes. I want to thank you guys for joining me. You know I'm going to have to do reactions to all of this insanity that's happening today. Remember to pray, right? We live in a crazy world today, and so the world needs prayer. Prayer changes you, and you can change things, and sometimes prayer just changes things directly. So I want everyone, as always, to stay kind, because, you know, kind is not only the new sexy, kind is the only damn sexy. I want you to stay blessed and stay healthy. Remember to subscribe to all of the Devin Lockett channels as well as BiomedRx TV. And if you like what you see, hit us up on Cash App, $BiomedRx, BiomedRx. And I will see you on the next live. Peace.
Gold label quality BiomedRx CBD oil is made from organic hemp that is locally grown, glyphosate-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, homogenized, third-party tested, and CO2 extracted. Visit www.biomedrxcbd.com.
BiomedRx Optimum Woman is the only woman's high-potency full-spectrum multiple vitamin supplement to contain 56 nutrients, including those most important for today's woman, such as calcium for bone health, iron for healthy red blood cells, beta-carotene, biotin for nail and hair health, gamma-linoleic acid from evening primrose oil, octasanol, grapeseed extract, a potent antioxidant important for maintaining capillary strength, and vegetarian digestive enzymes. Visit www.biomedrxsupplements.com.